What's up everyone, I'm Sam. Today I'm going to share with you how in my late 20s I eclipsed the $200,000 in income mark through sales. I'm a financial advisor. I'll walk you through my processes and the journey to getting there because that's just as important. I know a lot of people think that in order to make $200,000 a year, most people either got lucky or they started with some sort of secret that put them at a level ahead of everybody else. And while I'm not gonna deny the luck that came into my life for sure, I wanna share with you why I think it's more the decisions we make that can put us in the place of actually making more money versus just the place we find ourselves plopped into in life. For example, at your company, when you go out to a conference or something like that and there's an open bar, are you going and getting drunk with your work colleagues, or do you use it as a time for networking? When you have the ability to reinvest in yourself, whether it's education or whether it's advertising or whether it's just building up your business, do you take that opportunity or do you spend all of your free money on things like travel and partying and those types of things? While we definitely traveled in our 20s, my wife and I made sure that we wanted to do it on a budget, do it frugally, and so that it didn't put our lifestyle at risk or, more importantly, building our business at risk. I got started in the business mindset pretty young. My grandpa owned a chain of men's clothing stores in Southern Ontario, and what I was able to do was just be with him during those times and watch him. Now, he wasn't like super wealthy. Mark's Work Warehouse basically put him out of business, but he did keep one store running until he passed away in his early 90s. That was about 10 years ago now. Well, he actually didn't teach me a lot about business. What I observed was the freedom that his business gave me. I saw my dad, coming to work, going to work, working 9 to 5. He'd come home, work 5 days a week, didn't get a lot of vacation time, didn't really have flexibility. But I saw my grandpa, be able to leave the store at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday or something like that to go and get something for his wife. I saw the ability for him to just close his shop and take me out to McDonald's for lunch, right? Those types of things. And what that really instilled in me was the freedom that being in business and in sales can really bring to the table. I think that was probably the moment where I knew that I wanted to run my own business. I just had no clue how, but thankfully my mom allowed me to actually start my own business when I was like 10 or 11. And what I would do is I would walk down the street to the soccer games that were being played with freezies, popsicles, and water and sell them for like $1 or $1.50 to the parents who were watching their kids play. Eventually, that actually got me to be able to be a supplier of those snacks to the teams. They would say, hey, can you be here on Thursday night? Sure, bring this many freezies or this many popsicles, right? So that really taught me a lot about business and definitely reinforced the fact that I absolutely loved sales and I loved the ability to just be present in the moment with a product that people needed in that moment. And that was a huge learning experience for me. So fast forward to age 19, I was working at a credit union as a teller part-time and university part-time as well. And I quickly, my sole goal was to just climb the corporate ladder, right? So I quickly worked my way up to becoming a financial advisor at age 21. And I was the youngest financial advisor in the entire province in that credit union, which was a pretty big credit union, about 1,000 employees. But at age 22, I realized that my upside was pretty capped there. I was making about $48,000 and I really fell in love with the investments and financial planning side. And there was really no way up for me at the credit union I was at. So I left there and joined one of the largest financial planning and mutual fund companies in the country to see if I could kind of crash through that ceiling and really put my business skills and my business ambitions to the test. So I was 22 at that stage, and in the first 6 months, I left in about June, and I made about $40,000 in that first year. So I almost made the same amount of money that I had made previously as a financial advisor, making about $48,000, but I did it in like 7 months or 6 months. And so for me, that was a real eye opener. I was like, okay, well, the first 3 months I made no money. The next 3 months I made like 40 grand. There's like some real opportunity here. And so what I did was I took about 10,000 of that 40,000 that I had made and I reinvested it into advertising in my business. Everyone else that I had started with that was maybe a similar income range to me, they were, spending money on traveling or stuff like that or drinks, every Wednesday. But for me, I just wasn't interested in that. I just wanted to grow my business. And that was one of the decisions I think propelled me to where I am now, which I'll get to by the end of this video. I started being successful a little unconventionally as well. I started making a lot of video content, and this was like 2016, right? So there wasn't a lot of people doing this, and I got my fair share of ridicule for it. Like, the old heads would just say, hey, why don't you pick up the phone and cold call? Like, we did that in our day and it worked just fine. And for me, maybe I was just a little scared about it, but honestly, I just didn't see that as a practical way to reach the people I wanted to reach, which were first-time home buyers at the time. So I started doing seminars and in-person seminars, and we would actually start to pack the rooms of 40 or 50 people, where I'd walk through the RSP home buyers plan, I'd walk through the home buying process, and then I would open RSPs for them. I would sell term life insurance to cover off their mortgage need, and we could actually do mortgages at that time too, so I would also do the mortgage for them as well. So now it's 2017, I'm 23 years old, and I made about $60,000 in that year. So I was already about $12,000 ahead just 1 year later after leaving the credit union. And that to me was a big deal. In 2018, I was 24 years old and I made about $80,000. And again, I still took a lot of what I was making and reinvested it into the business. Things like education, I was studying for my CFP designation at the time. And so I took a lot of the money and time that I had and reinvested it back into my business. Again, I wasn't going to all these events and getting, drunk. What I was doing was I was actually attending these conferences. And this was something that changed in 2018. I was attending a bunch of conferences with our company across the country. And what I would do is I would actually be a little bit of a nuisance to some of the senior advisors, but these were the guys making over $1 million a year. And I wanted to know how they did it. What were their strategies? They've been in this a long time. How can I do it? And so they really actually, to their credit, took a lot of time with me. And even though I was probably like a bit of a nuisance to them, I was actually able to get what I wanted out of that, which was advice and mentorship. And those are two huge things I encourage anyone in their 20s to do. Then this was something that I repeated back in 2019, and that was the first year I crossed the $100,000 mark. I was 25 years old and I made about $115,000. And this was also the year that I attained my CFP designation, which would allow me to work on more complex financial cases with higher net worth individuals. So the same amount of time that I was spending, I would now be able to work with people who could pay me more dollars per hour because I was working with larger portfolios, I was working with more complex cases, people later on in life who still needed insurance, so there were higher premiums, which would pay me more money. Then the dam broke in 2020. I was 26 years old in 2020, and even though with the pandemic and everything happening, in the first 6 months, I had already made another $115,000. I was on pace to make well over $200,000, but that year, I decided I had my CFP designation, the pandemic had hit, and what really struck me was the fact that even though I was giving about half of my compensation that I was eligible to get paid back to my region office because they were there to support me, provide me with resources and tools, the pandemic hit and really none of that was happening. And so I realized, okay, I have my CFP, I really know how to plan for people, I'm good at sales, now I can actually move on my own and go independent. When I went independent, I realized I needed to change my approach. And how I did that was I focused on creating content. Over the course of the next 3 to 4 years, I built out a following on social media of about 80,000 followers. Right now, we're currently just under 90,000 across all platforms. I switched my business to virtual and was getting a ton of business from social media. And that strategy really worked. Even though 2021 was a down year, if we just look at kind of a linear progression, what I realized was it was a down year, but I had started over in 2020. I didn't really take a lot of my clients with me. I really started from scratch. So in 2021, I was age 27. I made about $80,000 in that year. But 2022, things changed. I started running a lot of ads on social media. Again, no other advisors were doing this. And again, I was spending a lot more money to do that, but it generated me about $130,000. So it was my highest year to date. So it was going like this. I had a slight dip in 2021, and then it went back up to well over 6 figures in 2022. I was 28 years old at the time. 2023 rolled around. I'm age 29 now. I've got this system going. And one of the things I really made sure of was that I really focused down on the education piece for clients. And I got a lot more skilled in working with more complex cases with business owners. I did a lot of studying. I made sure I put all my time and attention into like tax planning and making sure I could go more in depth with more complicated situations, and developed a program where we were able to save business owners at least $10,000 in taxes in their first year of working with us. and that skyrocketed things. So I'm 29 years old. I'd never cracked 200,000. That was the first year. I made about 240,000 in 2023. And then so far in 2024, now I've built out a team of about 5 advisors across the country. We've already hit that mark, and we're probably going to do about $500,000 this year. Keep in mind, all this time, I wasn't just slinging life insurance policies for the highest commission. We operate an evidence-based philosophy, which revolves around efficient markets, meaning we use exchange-traded funds and low-cost mutual funds that capture certain premiums in the market that have been backed by 100 years of science and data. I also charged for financial planning. So we would help people restructure their financial lives, whether they're a business or whether they're an individual. And we would charge anywhere from $2,000 to $3,500 for a financial plan. As well, we did do life insurance, but 99% of what we do is term life insurance, disability, and critical illness insurance for families in the millennial generation. In summary, this didn't happen overnight. I didn't have some special secret that got me to this place. I worked really, really hard. I definitely had some fortune and luck come down on me because I had this experience with my parents and with my grandpa, but I also made decisions and worked really hard to be able to accomplish this. Decisions that a lot of my friends weren't doing, and hard decisions for me to make at the time. I networked with people better than me. I tried a number of different things that eventually worked, and I took my free time to, instead of going out drinking and partying, I decided to study, to learn my industry better and to learn strategies better that could help add value to my clients and help save them thousands of dollars every year through things like better financial decisions, as well as tax saving mechanisms that we could employ for our clients. Hopefully in 2 years' time, I can make a video of my journey to $1 million in revenue. Thanks for watching. If you found value in this video, please click like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.